Hi everyone, this is Tim down in Florida. I'm making this video to kind of explain things to a lot of people who have been sending me emails concerning my merchant marine sites that I have on the internet. I've got 8 websites right now, all about merchant marines, working on cruise ships, everything you could want to know about them I've got on these 8 sites. And at the end of the video I'll give you the addresses to all 8 sites. And I get a lot of email questions from people, so I want to kind of make this little video to clear up some questions that people have, and hopefully not have to answer so many emails, although I like getting them, don't get me wrong. But the first misconception is that the Merchant Marines is a branch of the military. It is not. It has nothing to do with the military. The closest you come to it being military is your Merchant Marine credential is actually issued from the U.S. Coast Guard. You submit your application to the Coast Guard and they issue the credential. That is as close as you get. Unless you happen to be sailing on a merchant vessel where you're transporting supplies to the Middle East or even troops, then you are still a civilian employee, but you're working on actually a government ship instead of a private company. They have an outfit called Military Sealift Command that does that primarily. And you can be an engineer on there, you can be the captain, you can be a third mate, you could be a QMed, which is Qualified Member Engine Department, a deckhand, but you are still a civilian employee. You are not military. And when you sign up, you're not signing up for a hitch. People ask me, well, how long do I have to sign up for? Is it 2 years? It's nothing like that. If you get on a ship today and you don't like it, you don't like the crew, you don't like the places you're going, or for whatever reason, you get seasick too much, who knows. When you get to a port and that ladder goes down, you pack your bags and you quit and you walk down the ladder. You get paid off and you're done. It's that simple. You don't have to go back. You fly home on your own dime. The company won't fly you home if you quit, but nevertheless. So to clear that one up, it is definitely a civilian job, and there are a lot of them. Now, first of all, you could be on towing vessels on the Mississippi River, just tugboats pushing barges. And a deckhand on there, of course, would be handling the cables that tie all the barges together and things like that. A captain is running it, and you have an engineer in the engine room, but as it's starting out, you're going to be doing the dirty work, the grunt work. Now, also on the Mississippi River are a lot of casino boats that are tied to the dock. They don't even go anywhere anymore. They don't never leave the dock, but nevertheless, they are merchant vessels, over 200 gross tons, so they are required to have a crew, and the crew is required to have merchant marine credentials. And you could work in the deck department there, you could work in the engine room, you could work in the food service industry part, cocktail waitress, things like that. And that goes the same for entertainment on cruise ship lines, some of your big cruise ships. Everybody on there has to have a merchant marine credential of some kind or another. The captain, of course, has to have a license. The deckhands have to have the entry-level merchant marine credential of OS. So your 3 entries, like I said, are OS, deckhand, wiper in the engine room, which you basically do painting and helping the engineers if they're working on something like a generator, and then steward's department food handler, which you work in the galley helping the cook. You wash dishes, you peel potatoes, you help him prepare meals, you set the table, you serve the meals, you clean up after, mop the decks, etc. You load the groceries when they come aboard, things like that, and put them away. So that's the 3 entry levels. So you got OS, wiper, and steward's department food handler. And starting out, that is all you can get. You do not have to go to any academy. You don't need a high school diploma. You don't need any special training. All you need to do is pass a very basic physical, pass a drug test. It's a special test. It's called a DOT 5-panel drug test. It's the same one that over-the-road truck drivers have to pass. And if you get the wrong one, the Coast Guard will reject it, and you wasted your money, basically. So the first website, the merchantmarinejobs.org that I have, that's basically what I do. Since I worked in the licensing department in Toledo for some years, I was in inspections for a while, and then I went over to licensing. Then they moved the job over to near Washington, so I transferred over there, and I worked there for a little over a year. Then when we retired, we came down here to Florida in May of this year. and I started that consulting business, helping people get their merchant marine credential that don't have any idea where to begin. And it's become a complicated process with new regulations and everything else since 9/11. It is much harder to get. And that's what I do with that service, is I send out the applications, I send you the location to get your drug test, and I process all your paperwork, review it to make sure everything is correct when it gets submitted to the Coast Guard, so you don't get it mailed back to you telling you, oh, you didn't do this right or you didn't do that right. So it helps to speed that process up for you. Otherwise, you're going to have delays. Now, the other sites that I have, the other merchant marine sites, excuse me, old habits, never hard to break, you know. The other sites are a lot about the merchant marine industry itself, and there are jobs posted on there for people that are looking for work. I have a couple of them that relate to specifically getting jobs on cruise ships and how you go about that. So those are good sites, and there's a lot of information between all 8 of them, and I have all 8 of them linked together one way or another on the page. But I will give you the address of all those websites at the end of this video. So hopefully this video kind of clears up a little bit of the questions that a lot of people are sending me emails and asking me about. But like I said, number one, merchant marines are civilian employees. Whether you're an engineer, whether you're a deckhand, a mate, a captain, you're not in the government, you're not in the military. And you could work on any kind of vessel, from little charter captain vessels taking people out fishing, all the way up to a 1,000-foot oil tanker that's running back and forth between here and the Middle East. So there's a lot of jobs out there in that industry. And like I said, the offshore supply vessels that do nothing but run supplies out to the oil rigs. And that's another one too, the oil rigs out there. Those guys working on those oil rigs have to have merchant marine credentials. Even though it's sitting in place and doesn't go anywhere, they still have to have credentials to work on there. And from what I understand, those are pretty good jobs down there in the Gulf, or down here in the Gulf, I should say, now that I'm down here. But at any rate, that's what I wanted to let you know, was give you a little idea of the merchant marines. Been around a long, long time. They were around before the Navy. They were around before the Coast Guard. But they've always been civilian, and most likely always will be. And like I said, the Coast Guard handles all the licensing of those personnel on those ships. So that's who you get issued through. And like I said, go to the websites and read up. There's a lot of information, a lot of links. There's companies on there that are always looking for help. And the one site, if you need my help getting your credential, you can apply yourself and do it yourself if you want to. You can apply to the Coast Guard, and they charge, like I said, $140 to get your merchant marine credential. And then you can start applying to jobs, to companies that I have listed on these sites and looking for work. But at any rate, that's what I wanted to do with this video, was kind of just give everybody an idea of exactly what is the Merchant Marines, how do I join the Merchant Marines, what do they do, where do they go, and that type of thing. So I hope this video was informative for people that have all those questions, are wondering about that. And you can still email me at any one of those sites, and if you got a specific question, I'll be happy to answer it for you. But I suggest that you read up on it and read the things on there, because there's a lot of information, and I think most likely you'll get your question answered just by looking at the websites and reading what's on there. So that's it for this video. So until the next one,